and welcome to what I'm hoping will be the first in a new format for my videos. Now granted, it's not an original idea, and I know there are people out there who've already made these kind of videos, but I don't watch them and I don't know of them, so I'm not in any way ripping people off. And if you want to complain about me taking a format somebody else already uses, then hey, welcome to the internet and the world of online reviewing, a sacred art that James Rolfe created and everyone since has copied, if you believe the people of YouTube. But in all seriousness, if you are offended by me taking your format, which is exclusive to you, first I'll need proof of you actually owning the format, and failing that, please leave a link to your video in the comments and I'll be sure to give you a shout out, I don't know, never. The main inspiration behind this idea comes from the realization that in nearly every one of my videos, I always comment on a favourite scene or sequence and always find myself having to hold back on what I want to say about it. So I thought, what better way to sell my love of the scene than by devoting an entire video to it? And that's what this series is going to be about. This is where I can talk about a scene or sequence and just say what I love about it. And no, this does not mean I'm doing away with Welshy reviews or my Welshy retrospectives. So starting off, it seems only fair that I look at my favourite movie of all time, and that is Halloween. This is the film that not only changed the way I view movies, but it was the first movie I can honestly remember watching that scared me to the point where I felt my heart was going to burst through my chest in terror as the tension on the screen mounted. Funny thing is that in my first time watching the movie, I didn't actually get to see the opening sequence, or the sequence where Michael escapes from the hospital. I was young, I'd just been given my own bedroom for the first time that I didn't have to share with my brother, and in it we had a TV. So I did what anyone would do with a TV in their room for the first time. I stayed up and flicked through the channels, and happened across the scene where Laurie emerged from the Strode house, and then spent the next 30 minutes trying to work out who she was, as I recognised her but just couldn't quite place her face. While pondering, I ended up getting sucked into the story, and it's a testament to how good the film is in that even after missing the opening two scenes, I was still engrossed and ultimately terrified by the end. So while my feelings of Halloween as a whole will be more fully developed at a later date, it's here I can talk about my favourite scene in Halloween, and that's the film's opening.
You may think they scare me, you're probably right. Black cats and goblins on Halloween night.
Getting in from the credits, on a house we're told is located in Haddonfield, Illinois on October 31st, from a point of view shot we're led towards the house, before watching a couple making out in the front room. The girl comments that someone called Michael should be around somewhere, and the guy puts on a clown mask to tease her, leading to them heading upstairs. Briefly returning to the front of the house, the bedroom light switches off and the camera makes its journey to the backyard. Entering easily through the back door, a drawer is opened and a hand removes a large kitchen knife, and then we slowly walk through the house. The boyfriend leaves while the figure remains unseen as the camera now moves slowly up the stairs. Spotting the same clown mask that the boyfriend had been playing with earlier, a hand reaches out and puts on the mask, the camera now partially obscured by the mask. Seeing clothes strewn all over the floor and a faint humming as the girl sings, the figure approaches the girl and she notices him and remarks in surprise.
Michael!
Only for the figure to stab her repeatedly until she falls to the floor, bloody and still. Still wearing the mask, the figure retreats from the room, down the stairs and out of the house, only to be approached by two adults, both taller from the point of view of the figure, and both seem to know him too.
Michael?
Switching for the first time in the sequence to another camera angle, the mask is removed, showing a young boy dressed in a clown costume holding the same knife now stained in blood with a completely blank expression on his face as the camera slowly moves out, showing the couple staring at the boy while he stares into space. What makes the opening so memorable is obviously the reveal of the boy being the killer, but for me this is just such a well orchestrated and constructed sequence that manages to tell the audience a number of facts without ever having to state them, and manages this with very little dialogue, and all through one take, which admittedly is broken up through cleverly hidden cuts, but none are noticeable, and it's only through repeated viewings and listening to the commentary tracks that you ever even know they were there. The sequence is a masterclass in building tension and suspense. It's all about creating atmosphere that makes it easily identifiable to the audience, and then putting them off balance. Even before the first shot, the film has used the title cards to establish location and date, and opening on the house keeps your guard down as it gives off a feeling of safety and familiarity while allowing the audience to identify with their surroundings. It's a normal house, there's nothing morbid or decadent about it, and while we aren't given any hints as to whose eyes we're seeing this through, the name Michael is mentioned almost in the first minute by the girl.
Michael
Michael's around someplace.
If anyone has ever seen the original Black Christmas, and given how John Carpenter seemed to draw so much inspiration from Black Christmas, this opening does come across as very similar. Music also plays a huge role in the sequence, and for the first few moments, no music is actually played. Only simple noises like crickets chirping and owls hooting can be heard, which are all designed to help the audience relax. The first music cue only comes in when the bedroom light switches off, which is almost what springs the figure into action, as up until this point he's done nothing but observe, and it's this cue that immediately puts you on guard, and it never lets up, playing right up until the girl dies. As the figure moves from outside the house to the backyard where it, and thus we, enter the kitchen, it's here the music changes slightly, with the same underscore playing against it, and the small reveal of the hand taking the knife from the drawer gives a hint as to the person we're seeing these events through. Slowly walking through the house, it shows a normal kitchen, normal dining room, and normal lounge. Again, all identifiable rooms, and further establishing that this is an ordinary everyday house, all conveyed without a word of dialogue. And I've always enjoyed the quick glance at the chair that we saw the couple making out on earlier. The boyfriend leaves, clearly not having lasted very long, but his attitude shows he's gotten his way, and his delivery shows he has no intention of calling her in the morning.
Will you call me tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Promise?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, paints him as a jerk, but it's managed without any cross profanity or swearing. Just from his delivery and his lines, we're given an impression of him, and as he leaves, we know all we really need to know about him. The score has resumed that same slow theme that played while outside the house, as we slowly move up the stairs, and as the hand reaches out to put on the clown mask, we're greeted by slow, heavy breathing as we follow the trail of clothes, and it's only when we see the girl sitting naked at her dresser does a further sting hit the score. And like earlier, when he glanced at the chair where he had seen the couple making out, as we approach her, he glances at the bed where they'd just had sex. But the breathing never alters, showing that there is absolutely no change in mood or temperament from the person we're sharing this journey with. Upon noticing us, the girl reacts, establishing that she knows this person, and it's here the music delivers a deeper sting. Not high-pitched, but low and ominous, as Michael stabs the girl. But what's interesting here is, after the initial stabbing begins, Michael watches the knife, giving it more attention than the girl he's currently attacking. Now, you could argue that it was filmed this way so they didn't have to show the knife entering her body, but it actually says more about the character of Michael than anything else. Despite having a naked woman in front of him, and despite stabbing her repeatedly, he seems much more engrossed in the knife, watching it almost like a child playing with a toy. As he turns to leave, the music underscore slowly eases into a lower pitch, and the theme playing over it seems to be tuned almost to a countdown, or it could almost be seen as a come down from what Michael has just gone through. And now, moving at a faster pace, he leaves the house and encounters who we assume are Michael's parents. Like the house exterior and interior, they also look like normal everyday people. They clearly know Michael, and this is the third time his name has been mentioned, and it allows the audience to put together a number of threads that have been planted through the opening sequence of events. 1. That this is Michael's house. 2. That these are Michael's parents. And 3, the girl Michael has just murdered, who also knew him, is his sister. And the film has been able to convey all this information to the audience without ever actually having to state it, instead giving off a number of small hints and allowing the audience to put them together for themselves. The opening also managed to do what the remake and its sequel tried and failed to do, and that was to put the audience into the mind of Michael Myers while continuing to make him scary. While the remake and its sequel only managed to humanize Michael by doing this, this opening makes him scary, creates a genuine mystery about him, and helps further establish what Dr. Loomis will say later in the film, in that Michael's mind is effectively blank and emotionless. We don't need any details of a backstory or abusive parents, and even through the act of killing his sister, he never expresses any anger or rage. In fact, he doesn't make a sound, and this makes him a far more interesting and terrifying character, while his expression as the camera slowly moves backwards puts the exclamation point on everything we come to know about Michael by the end of this film. Halloween's opening works on so many levels because it manages to tell a story, establish characters and relationships, shocks and scares you, and manages this with very little dialogue, no jump scares, one continuous take, and is accompanied by a slow, haunting score which only helps to add to the tension you're seeing on screen. It's a true case of less is more, and when you listen to the commentary tracks and get to understand just how much work went into this sequence, you can appreciate it all the more. And yes, this is a plug. If you get a chance, buy Halloween on DVD with the John Carpenter commentary. Do it. You won't regret it. And that's it for now. I'm Welshy, and hopefully, if you liked it, this has been the first of many an episode of Seen It.
Rap Critic.